Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders prediction video. This is the only prediction video on the internet that counts, in our opinion. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and it's Rivals Round. Yes, good old Catalan versus Salford. Easter weekend, can't wait. Love it. Love Easter weekend. I can just veg on the sofa and watch Rugby League all weekend long while Mrs. tries to get me to go for a walk somewhere.
Right, let's get into it. Let's have a little recap of the games from the weekend. Kicking off with Salford versus Leeds.
Salford 0, Leeds 28. James McDonald absolutely on fire. Did he score 3 or 4 tries?
Four tries.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest talking point of this game was the interviews that Sky Sports did with Chris Irwin before the game, getting a little bit of knowledge on what was going behind the scenes at Salford, and it was pretty much as shocking as the performance on the field.
Yeah, and Leeds come away with a good win then. Moving on then, Hull KR versus Wigan in a replay of last year's grand final.
And Hull KR still just can't quite do it, can they? They couldn't hold on for the full 80 minutes. It was a really close game. Hull KR 12, Wigan 28 in the end. They blew them away that last sort of 10-15 minutes. A bit of Bevan French excellence again. More on him later on in the show.
Moving on then, Saints versus Wakey, and obviously with your new cap, Karl, you're pledging your allegiance to Saints. All Saints are we.
Saints 26, Wakey 14. Wakey not quite at the races in this game. Saints' new combination in the halfbacks seemed to pay dividends for him.
Moving on, Wire versus Hull FC.
Wire 16, Hull FC 28. John Cartwright has got that Hull FC team performing. Caesar, Rapana, great combinations all day. And it feels like they deserve that spot up there now. We weren't quite sure, were we, before? Had they beaten some of the big teams? They cemented it for me.
Moving on, Castleford Tigers versus Leigh Leopards.
Well, Cass have been struggling all season, and now they're struggling with discipline as well. So Leigh run away with this game. 6 points to 20 it finished off. Leigh deserved winners.
Giants versus Dragons.
They're on life support out at the Huddersfield. I watched that game. There was no atmosphere in the stadium. It was a difficult watch. Catalan went through the motions but got the job done. Giants 18, Catalan 38.
Moving on, focusing on this weekend then, Karl. It is Easter weekend. Kicking off on Thursday night. The first game then is Wakey versus Cass. Wakey currently 3 from 3. Cass currently 1 from 6. This is going to be on Sky Sports Action. Kicking off at 8 o'clock.
This is the game Wakey fans have been waiting for, isn't it? All season since they got promoted. The big old Wakefield, Castleford, what postcode is it?
It's all West Yorkshire, isn't it?
But it's all WF postcode, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
I hope I ain't got that wrong. I might have got that
You'll
wrong.
soon find out, mate, when the staunch fans get in the comments and start giving you shite.
Yeah, Wakefield fans have got to be loving life back in Super League, haven't they? The team playing really well. Yeah, they didn't get the job done this weekend against St Helens. They weren't far off, though. They weren't far off. But I just can't see a way that Castleford are going to get a victory. Danny Maguire needs to get into their heads how big this sort of rivalry is between these two teams, and maybe he can sort of get his team firing, get them a little bit more fired up. The discipline was terrible at the weekend, and it just cost them big time. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, you need some kind of storyline to hang his hat on and to create a bit of a narrative about. And this Rivals, I mean, it's got to be their best opportunity to get some points in recent weeks. I don't think they're going to do it, though. I've got this as a Wakey win, a comfortable win, and it's a shame because I love Danny Maguire. I love everything he did on the pitch, but he's kind of struggling at Cass there with the squad that he's got. Do you put it down to the squad, Karl, and the a weak player pool there, or what?
Yeah, it's a weak player pool. There's nothing. It's nothing Danny Maguire can do about it. They've tried numerous coaches now at Castleford, and until they invest a little bit more money in the playing squad, I don't think it's going to get any better. Look, they've clearly spent money this year, but they've spent it on they're doing the stadium up, haven't they? They've made improvements to the facilities. I suppose that pot of money can only go so far, and they haven't been able to invest any more into the playing squad. Although they have brought some, I mean, we spoke about them at the start of the season. They have brought some interesting players over. Those players haven't quite all clicked together, I don't think. Some games they're not a million miles off, but then other weeks they look pretty dreadful. That they were never really at the races this weekend. Wakey have got too much strike power. I really like what Josh Rourke's doing. He's been brought in at full back due to the injury, and he's living up to his hype. Yeah, I think he's doing well.
Standout performer at London last year, and he's doing really, really at Wakey. So, are you in agreement then, Karl?
Yeah,
it's a Wakey win.
This is a Wakefield win, and I just can see a big. The Cass fans are getting on the club's back now. They want change. They want to see something happen. And I think Wakefield are going to make them suffer this weekend. And I think it's going to be a difficult weekend for Castleford fans.
Right, changing Good Friday to Great Friday because of the games that we've got on. Kicking off with Hull FC versus Hull KR. An interesting fact that you may not be aware of. On Sky, right, Sky label Hull FC as Hull. And they label Hull KR as Hull Kingston Rovers. Now, what does that suggest to you, Karl?
What, the Hull FC are the bigger team in Hull?
Not our words. Yeah, I mean, who are we to suggest that? Who are we to suggest that? But that's what Sky are. You need to be writing into Sky and get this cleared up.
He's an amateurish rugby league watching. Yeah. Get that on the old Twitter feed. All
right, current form then. So Hull FC are currently 4 wins plus 1 draw from the last 6, and including a meeting with Hull KR where they lost 16 points to 32. Hull KR currently 5 from 6, having lost to Wigan last week, their first blemish on their record sheet. This is going to kick off at 12:30. Don't let that time catch you out. It's going to be on Sky Sports Action. Can't wait for this game. How are you calling it?
I love Great Friday. I do. I love it. I did just 2 games back to back on Good Friday, and they're both absolute...
And Easter eggs coming out of your ears.
I'll give up chocolate actually.
Have you?
Yeah. I'm still going actually.
Well, what are you going to do then? Have a kebab instead?
Yeah, I'll have a pizza's out of pizza oven. Anyway, right, the rugby. I love these 2 games. 2 cracking games. FC and Hull KR. Right, you've got to say the Hull KR favourites, right? They blew away FC in that last game. And FC were a little bit disappointing. I think everybody built them up where they were in the table. It was like, right, this is it, the big derby in the Challenge Cup we're going to get. And they just didn't perform. They really just didn't perform. But then they've gone to Warrington this week and they've smashed Warrington off the park. So I don't know what to expect from them. I know that FC have got some players are playing so well. Cade Cust, right? He seems to have found his team. He's found his position in the squad. Him and Caesar are just linking so well. Rapanaar, it took him a few games to get going, I think we've got to say. But now he's chiming into that back line now. He looks dangerous every time. He seems to bring a centre with him, which releases his winger every time he touches the ball. So I can see how FC can win this game. But I'm not sure. How do you see this one going?
Do you know, I mean, I would love FC to win. And I think they've got a chance.
Say that. You don't say you'd love for them to win.
No, I would. And I think they've got a chance. However, I think Hull KR a little bit too strong, hurting from their Wigan loss, want to get back into winning ways, and to right the wrong this weekend. We talk about derby form going out the window. I'm not so sure with this. You know what I mean? I think if anything, if both teams will elevate, and if both teams elevate, Hull KR still that little bit higher. The only thing that you could say is that they may be without Michael Lewis. I'm not sure at the time of recording whether he's going to be fit to play or not. But having said that, Jez Litton stepped in at the Challenge Cup quarter final, got the player of the match, and had an absolute stormer. So Yeah, I think Hull KR are going to take the win here, and but I will be cheering on FC this weekend.
Yeah, KR were good against Wigan, but they couldn't hold it together for the full game. I think they're going to this one as favourites, though, especially after the Challenge Cup fixture. Burgess is playing well. I think he's going to be a handful. I think Hull KR are going to win. But I don't think it'll be like the Challenge Cup fixture. I'm going a Hull KR win. I'm going to go 8 to 10 points.
Right, we both agree on that one. Then moving on to another massive derby in British Rugby League, and that's Wigan versus Saints. It's at the Brick Community Stadium. Wigan currently 4 from 6, having beat top of the table side Hull KR this weekend, and Saints currently 3 from 6. This is kicking off 3 o'clock, also on Sky Sports Action.
There's going to be 2 times that you need to get on social media this weekend.
Right.
One is after Castleford have lost to Wakefield and the fans are going absolutely mad and calling for a new owner and all the rest of it. And the second will be after Saints lose to Wigan and they'll be calling for Paul Wellens' head again, which happens almost on a regular basis now. I think Wigan are back playing their best rugby. I think if you watch them at the weekend against a really good Hull KR side, they looked so dangerous in broken play. Like there was times when KR's attack was really good. A ball had got to ground. French had capitalised on it, stepped round 1 or 2 people, and he'd have a runner, Jivefield, or someone just hitting the line and breaking through. Wigan looked good in open play again. In broken play, but they've also got the structure. I don't think Saints have got this side that can beat Wigan at the moment.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, there's a couple of chinks in Wigan's armour this year. They've lost a couple of games. That kind of proves that they're not, they are mere mortals and can be beaten.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's Derby Day, and both teams are going to raise. Nobody wants a loss. It's at Wigan.
Yeah.
That's got to make them the favourites.
Is it at Wigan? Yeah, it is at Wigan. Isn't it? So the only thing I say with Saints, Wakefield are a great side this season, and they made Wakefield look pretty average actually this weekend. And I like the new combination of George Whitby and Jack Wellesby in the halves. I think Lomax is injured. I don't know if he's back this week. That seemed to work for them quite well. Saints' halfback pairing hasn't clicked, if you ask me. I don't. There's some which don't make sense because Lomax has been running that side for years.
Where's Tristan Saylor then?
He's playing at fullback.
Right.
So Tristan Saylor at fullback, Whitby at 6, Wellesby at 7. It seemed to work. It was more balanced for them. Is Johnny Lomax's time at Saints coming to an end? Is that the sort of change that they need to start transitioning a little bit, don't the Saints? That could be it.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me? Or?
Yeah, I do agree. I think a lot of play ends at Johnny Lomax, which, it's all a little bit like Cam Smith at Leeds. It just, the ball goes, and you're like, well, I know the ball's going to ground it. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to have the distribution that he had in his early days.
Getting a little bit predictable.
Yeah, but I think teams just handle him well, and it's needed, it's required like Tristan Saylor to come in and just give that little bit of a spark. So
and Tristan Saylor's been blowing hot and cold all year, though, hasn't he? He needs to blow hot for Saints.
Red hot.
Yeah, he needs to.
He's got to be red hot. Yeah. He's got. You got to match up, but him against like the likes of Bevan French, and he's got to be red hot in order for them to win. I've got it as a Wigan win, and I don't even think it's going to be that close. I think Wigan are just going to be formidable this weekend.
Yeah, you can never back against Wigan in the big games, can you? Wigan might lose a few games in the season, which we've already seen. They've been knocked out of the Challenge Cup. When it comes to the big games that matter, they find that they have that winning mentality. And I agree with you. I think Wigan are going to win by 12 points.
Whoa, that's a big score. Right, okay, moving on then, Karl. We've got Leeds Rhinos versus Huddersfield Giants. This is kicking off at 17:30 on Sky Sports Plus. Leeds currently 3 from 3, and which includes a win over Salford this weekend, and Giants, the only team not to have picked up a win so far this year.
So difficult to watch Huddersfield at the minute. It's so difficult. They've got their injury list is just through the roof. I feel sorry for Luke Robinson because there's nothing he can do about it, but it's just hard to watch him. You watch like I watched the Catalan game at the weekend. There was nobody in the stadium. 3,500 rattling around in a, I don't know what the John Smiths holds these days, but it's a decent sized stadium in it. There's no spark from anywhere with Huddersfield at the minute. It feels like they're a club that's a little bit on life support. Leeds have been a bit up and down this year, but they're certainly a lot better than they were last year. And we've got to say, James McDonald at the weekend, what a game he had.
Yeah, 4 tries, almost 5 if it wasn't for a forward pass.
Yeah.
But absolutely storming, linking up really well. And you've got to put a lot of that down too. Jake Connor, Harry Newman, Ash Handley, all had amazing games. And I even like what Jack Sinfield did this week. I thought he had, when he come on, he had a great game.
Yeah, I think they threw Jack Sinfield to the Wolves a little bit too young, but he's finding his feet now, isn't he? I think they're introducing him off the bench and bit by bit giving him a bit more game time. He's playing well. I quite like Jake Connor and Frawley's combination. I think he's sort of Frawley sort of handed the reins to Connor and sort of like let him run with it, let him run his game, and Frawley's more of like bit of a backup support organiser in back play while Connor's doing his thing. Worked quite well that against Salford at the weekend. You've got to say that Leeds are clear favourites on this one.
Yeah, interesting narrative as well. Jake Connor playing at Huddersfield again. So, how's that going to go? He's definitely going to be the pantomime villain this week.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so, back at his old stomping ground. He felt like he never really settled at Huddersfield. I think he will go to Huddersfield this weekend. He's going to run the show. I think it's going to be another difficult afternoon for Huddersfield fans. Leeds by 16 points. Possibly 20. Completely
agree with that. Let's move on then. On to the Saturday. You got 2 games, the first of which is Leigh versus Warrington. Leigh currently 3 wins, 1 draw from 6, and Warrington 4 from 6. This kicks off at 13:30. It's on Sky Sports Plus, I think, or Sky whatever, and the BBC as well, BBC 2.
Yeah, Leigh heaped more misery on Castleford this weekend, didn't they? They're just a little bit inconsistent, Leigh, at the moment, but when they get it together, I saw some fire in them this week. I saw Lamb was, there was a couple of eye shots went in. He got stuck in at Castleford team. He didn't care. There's a lot of togetherness in that Leigh side at the minute. I think I expect them to put a decent performance in this week against Warrington.
Does that mean you've got them as a win, or you think Warrington are going to...
No, I'm just teeing it up for you. I'll put your 2 pennies worth in, mate.
Right, okay. So as exciting as Warrington can be to watch, and with all the star-studded team, I think it's matched pretty evenly with Leigh. This one is a really hard game to call. There's no out-and-out, there definitely no definites in this game. So it's literally can be decided on the toss of a coin, and I think it depends on what team turns up. It's at Leigh. Does that play a part? I think it does. I think they're creating a bit of a fortress there at the Leigh Sports Village. So
this, to me, it goes down to how well Leigh can defend and how well Warrington can link their attack together. It took 50 minutes to break FC down at the weekend. I mean, not like a barging over try. I mean, properly worked set play where there was creating an overlap. I think that their attack wasn't quite together. Sneed and Williams this week didn't. They weren't quite as in sync as they have been. Like Sneed seemed to slot in straight away, didn't he, in the Warrington side the other week. This weekend, just gone. He just wasn't quite there for him. Could go either way, this one. I don't know how to call this one.
You're waiting for me to call it, then you're going to make a decision based on that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right,
that's how it works.
I'm going to Warrington win. Both teams, in my eyes, are a little bit fractious at the minute. However, I think it's going to click this weekend for Warrington, and they're going to take a very, very narrow win, albeit very, an exciting game in prospect, this.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leigh's defence isn't quite up to it. And they're doing some good stuff in attack, but defensively, they're a bit fragile. I agree with you. I'm going to go for a Warrington win. Narrow, drop goal to 6 points. Drop between 1 to 6 points. That I think is all it'll be in this game.
The final derby then, local derby. You got Catalan Dragons versus Salford. Catalan currently 5 wins from 6, like flying under the radar there with some good results, including a 20 points to 12 win over Salford recently, the last couple of weeks, and Salford 4 from 6. Sorry, 4 losses from 6, and having picked up just a couple of wins early doors. This kicks off at 6 o'clock. What are you saying?
Can we just talk about Salford for a minute before we make us predictions on this? Did you watch the interview with Chris Irwin before the Leeds game?
Yeah, and I was absolutely disgusted to hear that what some of the rumours going around that this consortium that's coming to buy Salford are only really interested in the land and the stadium. That was confirmed, by the chief exec there, and that is disgusting. I know that Tony Sutton in an interview he sort of defended the RFL's position on doing the due diligence and checking these out and to make sure they've got the funds and all this kind of stuff. But how this has come about is terrible. It is terrible for Salford. It just seems like an absolute asset strip of the business.
That's exactly what it is. All we're going to see this year from Salford is they lose more and more players as the season goes on. They clearly have got no money in the club, or certainly not enough money in the club. It was shocking. It was like you said, and he kind of threw the owners under the bus, didn't he, Chris Irwin? He basically went, well, that's not my decision. I'm just trying to steer the ship with what I'm being given, and clearly he's been given nothing. And the other point I took from that as well, I think he mentioned that the owners had come in and spoke to the players and kind of basically told them to get on with it and start representing the club in a better fashion. I thought, well, that's fucking rich coming from the owners who are just basically stripping the club and they're only there because they want the bloody land around it. I thought it was terrible, and I feel for the Salford fans because what's happening to their club is shocking, and they're not going to be in Super League next year, are they?
No, and it's a shame. And the way I want to come at this is, in psychology, there's a term like the drama triangle. In any drama, there's like 3 main protagonists, if you like. Okay, so there's the victim, right? Then there's the persecutor, and then there's always a rescuer, right? And it creates this triangle. Now, the interesting thing, best example of this is like domestic violence. Somebody's at home, they get a clip off their husband or whatever, phone the police. You've got the victim who's the wife or the girlfriend. You've got the persecutor who's the bloke, the husband, the boyfriend or whatever, the rescuer, the police. Now, the interesting thing with the drama triangle is the positions rotate. So the police come in, they go and arrest the bloke, the woman kicks off because they're now arresting her husband. She now becomes the persecutor, the police become the victim. The husband then jumps on the copper's back and he becomes the rescuer, and it keeps going around, and this drama triangle will continue to turn, if until somebody says, do you know what, I'm not playing that role anymore. Let's think about the Salford situation. You can kind of see it's going on. Now, what's interesting now is that your big players, your Salford, are now saying that they're almost going, right, well, I'm not playing this game anymore, right? The RFL said, look, we put the onus on the club to make these important announcements. They'd said nothing, right? And but the club couldn't really say anything because they wanted to, they didn't want this new ownership to have a bad name before they even got started. Gave them benefit of the doubt. They've not come up with the goods. Now, at this point now the RFL are going, well, it's down to the club. The club's now saying it's down to the owners, and they're refusing to play this part in the drama triangle. So it's going to be interesting now to see how this unfolds. The downside is unlikely that Salford will continue, after this season. I just, the debts that they're accruing, the situation that they're in, it's just really, really... And it's a shame we're talking about this.
I don't think the owners even care.
No, they don't care.
They don't care if Salford even exists in another 12 months.
This is a bean counting. This is a bean counting exercise. They just want the land and the stadium and all that.
Yeah, and they tried to make out as well, but Salford are getting a better deal from it now because they now get 20% of like food concessions and stuff like that. I was like, that ain't enough to keep a rugby league club running. They've got no chance. It's terrible. It's terrible. Anyway,
But to top this off, they've also lost Callum Watkins now, who is a massive talisman within that team.
And there's more on the way by the sounds of it. So, the quick fire sales, they're not going to stop. And it sounds like a lot of the players don't want to be there anymore.
Well, why would you?
And you can't blame them. This has got like a bit of a narrative going with this game then, hasn't it? So you got the Salford who are on their hands and knees, desperate. And then you've got Catalan who they're kind of like... They've got the backs against the wall now of Catalan, because if rumours are to believe that some teams don't want them part of the competition anymore, it's like they've got a point to prove. And I hope Catalan do well for that reason. Plus, I think Steve McNamara's getting them going again. I can only see Catalan winning this game.
Yeah, I completely agree with this. I mean, based on the recent match where Catalan beat Salford, I think it's going to be a rerun of that, if not more. And I think you're right; they're going to make a statement here that Catalans need to be included in a Super League and capitalise on Salford's demise. It's a shame that it finishes up this way, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit more on like the NRL takeover and everything else that's been going on in the world of rugby league, check out our Set of Six show, which we dive into that, do a deep dive into that.
As always, stick your comments and your predictions down below. Remember, it is just a little bit of fun, right? This is, you don't have to kick off and go nuts. But until the next